So it is on.
Wisdom Lovers podcast formally launched.
Yeah, it took us a while to get ready with all the technical stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, there is much more. But we're just doing it.
Hearts present. It's the important part.
So we have no basic topic, and we're doing it in purpose like that. But it's also probably going to be the first, how to call it, chapter or first recording that we will post on YouTube, on Spotify. I don't know. I guess we will see more places. And it's also, in a way, an introduction, I guess. So, what do you think?
Yeah. Introducing where are we coming from, why do we want to sit down and record our conversations, which are quite many. And I'm always curious about knowing more about you. It's like to me it seems like you're an endless fountain of wild, interesting life experiences and wisdom that you gained and found within yourself. So, introduction.
Yeah, I'm like, you just said what you said, and I'm kind of yeah. Why do you see, like, why do you see it in me? Why don't, like, do you experience yourself as an endless fountain of interesting experiences?
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
Yeah.
I think I'm just not aware if other people are interested or find my experiences or my point of view interesting. It's easier for me to know what I find interesting in others and see value in that. But for me, my experiences are of most value, of course.
Because then it's not just about me. I mean, maybe there is value from both of our sides.
Yeah. And we have lived this lifetime quite differently. So I think we can meet quite a wide range of people, possibly. I know for many, for the majority, I would guess that my ways of choosing to live, at least for periods in my life, is something that is relatable or something that people have done. When I hear about your life, I feel more like, oh my god, it's like an adventure, or reminds me of a movie that I watched or a book that I read, which brings adventure to life. And for me, it's really inspiring to know that there's actually people that do live these things. It's like it's not only imagination of some writers or poets or movie makers. But maybe someone finds my mundane life experiences interesting.
I think we are all used to ourselves, and then another seems it's like different.
Mm.
And as bigger the difference, it's more intriguing or threatening, depends how open is the mind.
Mm. And when you say we are used to ourselves, I'm a bit like, and what is that? What is this myself? Because now, just in the last few days, been experiencing what can be called like shadow coming up or something. So it's like I'm experiencing myself being so different from what I am used to, me being. So in a way, I'm experiencing a very adventurous, wild journey, foreign experience within my own being.
Yeah, but then still the one who is experiencing this change is, in a way, a self, right?
Yeah.
And you know yourself, like, even though you're changing, like, you don't know yourself fully. We always discover more and more, but there is a sense of like, I'm used to experience myself as a self, because if I'm not experience myself as a self, or a continuous self in a certain aspect, like in the subtlest, maybe even aspect of the self, then there is no self to experience the self. And then it's like, just there is no self. So it's kind of, it's self-generating thing, the self. Generating. I think the story we tell ourselves is kind of like how the self is self-generating itself. The story of who we are, what is life, what is reality.
Oh, and when you say that, I'm like, it feels so free. Like it feels like it's so much my choice to actually choose how I want to experience the story, or the story, how I create the story.
But that's also a story if it is free or not. It's like the fact that now it feels free and before it didn't feel free. But it's all in a certain range of, like, for example, well, it touches kind of like an idea. Is there freedom really? Or maybe something is determining that you will want what you want. Like, maybe what you think is your free choice is within something that chooses for you to want what you want. Or you really completely from your, like, kind of, your will is kind of separated and chooses from outside of reality what it wants, in a way. Like, it's part of the...
You lost me there. Can you elaborate on this last point?
Maybe tell me, where did I lose you?
Something outside of...
Or what did you get from it? So
No.
you blacked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess there is no receptivity. For that. I mean, no need to push. Understanding. Just ideas.
Mhm. But what I got is like this idea of free choice. But then, where is my will coming from?
Yeah.
Where are my choices coming from?
Yeah, because you said it feels more free.
Mm-hmm.
That is also part of a story. Is there freedom or is there non-freedom? You know, like all these polarities that we can think with our mind, like defining with the language, just tools to make a story. So we can put our identity as enslaved, or we put our identity as free, but it's still within the same box.
Yeah, within the box of duality.
Of that specific duality.
And how to move from there. Like if I'm not choosing either slavery or freedom, if I'm not choosing this axis of polarity as a story, what is like a higher layer or higher viewpoint to live from?
So the idea of polarity can, let's say, fractalize itself in many ways. So also the idea that, okay, this is a lower form and there is a higher, this is another polarity. And it's in a way, yeah, the box is then not one dimensional. There is another dimension maybe. And we can play many angles of of a polarity within two-dimensional space, like basically infinite. And maybe it's not about going to a higher view. It's just acknowledging that it is two sides of the same coin, and that's it. Just
And how is it? How does it show itself in my life? How is this practical, useful information for me? Just trying to understand.
I don't know how it is practical for your life. I can tell about me. For me, to go into the subtleties of the definitions and the logic of the language supports in refining the story I tell to myself as a self-generating process to create myself. What am I? To do it in a way that is more refined, like, it's like making the angles more exact, the angles of when I'm revealing the geometry of a diamond while polishing a raw or any other crystal, like that looks just like a stone, cloud shape. But then if I want to reveal the most lucidity, so there are very specific angles. And as more as I refining the angles, the more lucid it would be. So same in a way the definition of the self can become more and more lucid when the accuracy is refined. And language can be deceiving, but can be also a tool to use it.
So, moving towards a more lucid self, what does that mean for the one who experiences?
Well, it is it's about awareness to who or what is I, am I, what is I or who am I? And also awareness that is continuous, that it's like just knowing. And basically that's it. It have not any direct applications. It's just touch that essence. But there can be outcomes from it. All kinds of outcomes. I guess a lot can go into the psychopathological realm. Or general pathological. And also what is physical, it's usually psychosomatic. And also relationships, it's also an expression of the inner relationship, kind of like in the psyche. So it's kind of, it touches a certain essence. I think the more lucidity there is, the more it's natural to integrate, like for that mind to integrate parts within itself, part of itself within itself. Because if to come again to that metaphor of the diamond, that is instead of cloud shape, now it is exactly the 64 faces are in their accurate exposure. So it's the most possible transparent. So it's not standing in the way of the light, it's just breaking it, but it's kind of not blocking it to be less light.
Mm.
And then the light can be a metaphor of consciousness, which can be, in that sense, another force, another something that comes through what we experience as self. But a trans self thing.
So the question that comes up for me is like, why to like, from my view, it seems that majority of people are not so interested in being transparent.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Many want to hide stuff.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
want to hide many things. At the same time that I don't want. It's like this conflict of wanting to be more connected or with consciousness or source or whatever you call it, and at the same time feeling the conflict of the fear of being more transparent.
Yeah, but you might want to hide stuff from others, but then from yourself, you prefer to know the truth, maybe what you can call a truth, or like. But then there might be also a part that don't want to know the truth, actually. Maybe the truth is too uncomfortable. So there is a fracture, like it's not, the self is not integrated. And that is an outcome of this, like being not transparent.
To be fractured, you mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For example, because there are when it's not fully transparent, there are parts in the shadow that the light does not come through fully. And this is an outcome, and for some people it serves. That's why it is like that. If everyone would want to be transparent, everyone would be transparent. It's not like that someone needs to do a bigger effort. It's actually to stop blurring.
What do you mean? Do one bigger effort to do what?
Like, it's not that someone needs to do a bigger effort to be transparent to itself.
It's just about stop blurring.
Yeah.
It's not about doing something, but stop doing something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's just so scary.
Yeah, that's
like,
a story.
To take it down, well, yeah, it is a story, but also, well, my experience, and maybe there is a less painful way, but when I take down a whale or
A whale?
yeah, or
Veil, you mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
take down an illusion or a like untrue story that I've told myself, and I actually see reality better, and a part of me that I have rejected before. It's like it's very painful to move through all the emotions. Like it's emotional pain to actually integrate. Like for me, there is like always this mixture of a relief that there is a part being freed from being fractured or pushed away. There's a relief in it, but there's also a painful process of actually integrating what I have previously known as myself and then what is like, whoa, coming out of the darkness.
Um, it's like when you have for 10 years something glued to your skin. So, and then after 10 years, you decide to take it off. It's stuck to the skin. It's like it will create a wound. It's not, oh, now it will fall. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the body got used to being with that. It's like a habit. And in a way, the story, it's also a habit. If we keep on telling the same story over and over again, like this is scary, this is emotional pain, that every time we meet that thing, whatever it is, this is painful. So it just becomes part of the identity. Becomes of part of what shapes the shape of this raw diamond.
So you mean that I could actually do the integration process differently? In a way that is more maybe smooth, less dramatic, or
less traumatic?
Dramatic.
Of course you can. Yeah. Is it better? I don't know. It's like good and bad is a subjective.
Yeah, it's more just like I do it as I know as what works for me or is efficient.
Or what even if it is not working for you, you might still continue to do that because that's what you know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like this
and
is what
there
I
is a
know
big
so
difference.
far.
But there is a big difference. Because this is holding on to an habit and not letting go of the habit in order to allow a different pattern to come through. And if it didn't work and you're still keeping it as a habit, it's naturally leading to a shadow, to a part in the psyche that is in the shadow, to a fractured personality, to something that might be called a pathology.
Okay, now I'm confused because what I'm speaking of is how to integrate a shadow. And now you're taking another layer of how I do that is creating a shadow. Am I understanding you correctly?
No, I'm describing the process of how a shadow is created.
Okay, from scratch. Okay.
I mean, it's one way. It's a possibility. And also the way you're gonna meet, like if you want to come into a self-transparency, the way you do that, can generate new shadows, of course. I mean, because you can tell yourself the story, you are doing it, and in the meanwhile, you shift some things, but actually, the story now is that I'm on the way, rather than just seeing. So, it was inspired by the example you give of how to do.
Interesting. Seems to be. Well, you mentioned like holding on to a pattern will prevent a new pattern to come through. So I guess my approach to life in general has been like looking for new ways or how to do things from outside of myself, like from others. But it sounds to me that you're more speaking of allowing it to come through me. So in a way inventing it, or for it really to come from the inside out.
Well, it's not fully accurate to say that holding on to a pattern will prevent a different pattern to come through, because pattern is always evolving. And it's kind of like can go fractal, like the same pattern just concentrate itself more. So when the same pattern is more concentrated, it's already transforming, and new variations of it can come. So it can come to a meta pattern, like, and then a whole different paradigm of meeting the self can do more massive shift in the perception of the self. But also the different paradigm, it's not really separated from the pattern. The awareness needs to integrate it all. So it's not like I'm letting go of that and then something new comes in.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of like a wave rather than this is one thing and this is another and it's two objects. So
It's
I
like
let go one object and it's...
Yeah, the image that comes to my mind is just factory. Like it's like a factory line. That's my approach to things, but you are more approaching it from like an organic way, as a wave.
There is no clear distinction between when that starts and that ends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's tuning the radio to the channel, and then you can hear that channel. And if you want to go to a different channel, you move to a different frequency of the radio wave. But there is no exactly where is the border between that and that. It's kind of like general area. And if to go to really a subtle observation, so also the first channel influence the subtle nuances of the white noise in the second channel and vice versa, because like all the waves are interacting, they echoing, like rippling. So
in a way, I never get rid of anything or bring anything new. It's all there anyway.
In a way, I mean, the I is not something new in essence. So whatever comes from it, it's kind of like within the box. And it is in a way, because in another way, it is a unique like fingerprint. Like this exact combination is unique.
Combination of what? The patterns?
Yeah. Like this cell of the hologram is still unique.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when I meet another, I can resonate with a certain pattern in that person. Like, oh, this seems familiar. But no one person is where I really meet all the patterns that are visible. Like some are foreign, some not. Like different mixtures.
So when there is a transparency of self to itself, so it can meet all the potential patterns already as itself. So in a way, and it's kind of, in a way, it's also familiar, but in a way it's also new. Because it's still different to meet it as itself rather than as a self meeting another self. But as itself, it have a it's all like coded, it's all concentrated, like concentrate. Yeah. I don't know
You're
the
making
word.
a lot of hand movements.
Yeah, I'm looking for the word. But yeah, it's kind of like it's all concentrated. like a kind of like a black hole that have.
What do you mean with concentrated? I'm understanding it as like what you as a person or separate cell in the whole structure is like some aspects of the whole are concentrated in you, and that is what is most expressed through the diamond that you are.
A cell is actually a great example, because it's like we have in the body a lot of cells with the same DNA. So it's all the cells having the same nuclei, but each cell is expressing differently. So the transparency is to know the nuclei, to know that code fully. But still, the expression is unique. So to meet another cell with a different unique expression, but still knowing the essence. Oh.
And with this metaphor, I'm like, okay, for me as a human being living in community and society and as a being on earth, a part of earth, it's like how is it important for a cell in a body to know itself and to be able to meet other cells as with the same nuclei?
The importance is subjective. Like, for some it can be important, for others they actually prefer not even. But if to come to a more objective view, which we can never go fully objectively, but if we come into most objective in the sense that we look at us as part of same reality that we live together on this planet, for example, like we share the same world together. So I think most people would prefer to live in a peaceful and harmonic reality. At least in the conscious part, they would express that. And in that aspect, it is very relevant, because if you cannot accept the other, the different, it actually means that you cannot accept this part within you, or vice versa. And it's just a reflection of that pattern. But in actions, people are judging others by color, or by sex, or by gender, or by nationality, or by religious beliefs, or by even beliefs that are not religious.
And professions and status and wealth.
And what clothes they're wearing. Yeah. So, and when I mean judging others, it's more like consider the others to be good or bad. Like, am I one with the other or not? It's like there is us and them. And or just me and them, and if it is fully egocentric.
But if I keep on in the metaphor of the body and the cells in the body, it's like, it's I mean, it's good that a liver cell knows it's a liver cell and not a kidney cell. It's like, it's good that there is certain level of understanding of different functions or something, because otherwise the body wouldn't function as it does. Like everything would be chaotic and mixed, and I don't know, my my story from this point of view.
When you say the liver knows, like that cell knows it is a liver cell, what do you mean by knows?
No, I just mean like
the story tells itself?
No, it's this. Like there is some grouping of similarity.
Yeah.
And they come together for a certain function that
Yeah.
serves the whole. But if so, okay, there is some benefit actually in grouping with similarity and wanting to bring in a certain function to serve the whole. But if the whole of the liver, a community of cells, despises all the cells in the kidneys, it will create damage for the whole if they don't if they don't operate together in a way and acknowledge the different different purpose or different qualities that bring something for the whole.
Yeah, the grouping is something that emerges, but also there is the difference between liver and kidney is like there are many cells also in between. There are the blood cells, the vessels, there are the connective tissue cells, and it's many types of cells that are intermediating. There is no exactly liver and kidney as two different countries with artificial borders and like this nationality and that nationality. It's just continuous terrain,
which
in a way.
Brings us back to the radio station and the radio waves.
Yeah,
it's continuum,
exactly.
and it all lives within. It all has a white noise of each other in a way.
Yeah, and it just make more sense when those people who live in the desert, they will not live in a house with a sauna, for example, comparing to those who live in a Nordic country, the very Nordic, that without a sauna, it can be difficult in the winter.
Really?
Or like it just, there are differences that emerges, and it's more the environment determines if the cell become a liver or a kidney or what, rather than the self itself decide, okay, I will be a liver cell, no, a kidney, actually I prefer to be a heart cell because a heart I think is a better idea, and more like supreme being is to be a heart cell, so I will be a heart cell, and then liver cells and kidney cells are just filters, and but it's kind of like it just emerges by itself rather than decided from within. The environment just naturally creates it.
Yeah. And this brings me to me being in your environment, like you being my environment for the last months. Like, yeah, that really shapes the life experience or the understanding and the ideas that come up, and yeah.
Yeah. Also,
Like how the environment that we choose to be in, if we have a choice, of course. Some people maybe don't have the same freedom and privilege as Western culture offers. Like migrating and expanding my life experience and understanding.
Migrating?
Yeah, like migrate, like the birds that fly from one place to another and like immerse themselves in different environments.
According to the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can explain better what you mean, because I'm not sure I got your.
Or maybe just a little of my life journey. Like for a long time, I was mainly in a very monotonic culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't really meet very different types of people than myself. It's like within the educational system, working as an engineer and like kind of surrounded by people that were thinking much like me. But then for the last 6 years, when my life journey took a big shift, like I see there are much shorter periods of immersing myself in different types of experiences, different types of people, which expands me more than if I just stay with one thing.
Okay, and how do you relate that?
Just because you were saying that the environment
Mm-hmm.
is in a way what shapes us.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine
Yeah.
said, I don't know, like it's from some kind of a theory, but that I'm kind of just the average of the 5 people that I hang out most with. Like how much actually the social dynamics that we are surrounded by influences us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very much, in my view, it's very much influencing. Who are we with, or where are we, or what are we surrounding ourselves with? And still, there are subtler aspect of the environment that are not necessarily acknowledged, which can be inertive, like habits, for example, is also an environment that we live in. Otherwise, if we would not evolve habits, we would just be transforming fully into whatever is now. But then suddenly there is a part from my past that acts in a certain way, like post-traumatic or whatever. It's because there are habits. So it's part of an environment, but it is subtler than an object, like a person or a place.
It's more coming from my story, from the past that is shaping me, instead of being fully in the now and allowing the now to call forth.
It is an expression of the story. If this coming from the story, or the story is then coming from it, or echoing from it. And yes, there is an inertive effect when a story is retold over and over again. It gets more inertia, more power. So it's like the habit becomes any habit we do many times, the same habit, it's more likely we will do it again. And if we want to change the habit, it will be more difficult. If we want to keep the habit, it would be more easy. As more as we have done it. So, yeah, these are habits. Like, so it's not just the people you are with. The people you are with can be also an expression of what story you tell to yourself.
Right, yeah. It's mirroring to me in a way. My own story.
It can be. Yeah. I mean, it's another perception to look at it. But also, yeah, there is something in that. The 5 people you are most with, they are very much reflecting who you are now in this time in your life. And yeah, if you meet 500 people every day, how would that be? I mean, there are many versions. So I think it's very generalized in a way, like not necessarily fitting to many cases.
Now I'm just wondering also like how we're drawn to certain people. Like in a way, maybe I can look at it as me being willing to meet that aspect within myself. Like that person is holding something that, well, maybe it is fully resonating with something in me, but also it might be the opposite. It's really something that I haven't integrated, and I feel that it's missing from the whole, and that's why I'm like drawn to that in a way polarity.
Yeah. So you say in one way it can be someone you meet a similarity, and then it's easy and it's kind of comfortable to be with that person.
Yeah, it's like calming for the nervous system. One way to put it, maybe.
And
Like,
and yeah, or it might be also not calming, but it's just familiar. I mean, maybe it's the same
yeah, same destructive behavior.
yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's just familiar.
Yeah.
Which can be less scary, even though it's painful. Yeah.
Scary. I think scary is already a layer of story you put on it, because it's not even scary. It's just a pattern.
Yeah, it's like me identifying with a pattern. Yeah. Holding on to it, not wanting to let it go.
Scary, you making it dramatic. Like it's emotional and so there is a drama there. There is like then a path of a hero that will meet the fear and so on.
Yeah.
But basically it's just a pattern, and when there is similar pattern, so it's more familiar. So
but
this
what
is
I
one
see,
way.
like the scary thing is like fear of the mystery, fear of the unknown, and like to my understanding, you find more comfort in living the mystery. Like I feel that I'm more and more learning to live with awareness of the mystery and the unknown. But that's the fear, and that's what I see much in people. It's like it's uncomfortable to really feel and be aware of how mysterious all is.
But
So
what for you might seem mystery, for me might be familiar.
Yeah, right.
So mystery is, again, it's from your subjective perception. What is mystery? What is mysterious? You know, we can both.
But I mean just the unknown in general. That's
Yeah,
another.
we can both look at the same bush. And for you, yeah, I see that every day that I go out of the house. And for me, I saw it every day in the last month, but it's like looking at it, it's like, how can that be? It's very mysterious.
And more speaking of the unknown, as in like how life will unfold. Who will I be tomorrow or in the next moment? What will come up? Because in our culture, it's like wanting to plan things, see things through.
So it's same.
No surprises.
Same. It is also viewing in the self, like same like with the bush.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, this is myself.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Or like, oh, what is that thing? What is that story?
Mm-hmm.
What are the patterns there? How it like to see the mystery in that can be as well. And in a way, also these two approaches is part of the story. It's another dimension in it. But again, you say like there is in one side there is the people that is more familiar, so it's more in ease with, and in the other side people that it's like that you feel either drawn to, or like there is a quality that you have not integrated. So, or more to say, something you project out of yourself on them. But that can be either intriguing or threatening. So it depends.
Or kind of both.
Yeah, but it depends also. I mean, some can be more towards that, some more towards that in response to a specific quality. Like some are very magnetized into it and attracted and curious, and some hate that and don't want anything to do with it, or like don't want it to exist in this reality. So yeah, it's in a way defense mechanisms on the self. Different variations of defense mechanism for not owning it, for not being too transparent to itself, because the defense mechanism kind of is based on identity that is separated, and so it cannot really integrate. It needs reference points of what is not self. And it keeps from integrating.
Just reflecting back on my journey and like the joy and celebration of sitting in a circle with people or just meeting people and realizing how much I actually like people. Because the more that I integrate aspects of the self, the more I can actually have compassion and understanding and appreciation for other people. Coming from more of an experience of much judgment. Of course, like much judgment of myself in a really tight container for how, like in a way, who am I? Very limited, very strict, very contracted. And then the more to be able to integrate and meet these aspects, being able to meet other people and be like, oh, actually, people are not as much of an asshole or as I thought before.
Mm,
The more that I meet these assholes within myself, integrated.
maybe they are as much of an asshole as you thought, but also you are.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like when I integrate and like acknowledge my assholeness. Okay, I feel like I'm putting the part of the body of an asshole
Yeah,
down.
maybe kidney or liver.
Yes, what a liver you are. Yeah.
Yeah, you kidney. Are you kidding?
Yeah. So that's because I asked before, like, okay, why to polish the diamond?
Yeah.
What is in it? But then it now comes back to me. It's like, what is in it for me? It's actually to just be able to rest more and trust more and meet more life and other people.
And yourself.
Yeah, like that's the foundation. The fact that I meet myself more.
Yeah, it reflects
That yeah.
to anything.
Yeah, but that is what I meant with polishing the diamond. That's an internal job. That I get support from the surrounding.
A diamond is not polishing itself from within. It's from outside. It is the environment that influences a cell to be in its peak function.
Yeah.
It's not insourced. And it is the environment that supports the polishing of the diamond. And part of the environment is also the story, is also the thoughts, is also the feelings. It's not only the people and the place and the objects. Environment is including subtler aspects as well. But it's all part of the environment.
Mm-hmm.
So we are we are talking for an hour. And let's end it soon then.
So why are we doing this podcast again?
Yeah. What is the introduction here? Oh, we introduced ourselves.
We actually didn't.
Wow.
I didn't say my name is Aurora.
Yeah, but we talked about the self.
Right. Yeah, I guess, okay. Oh, it comes again like, oh, what a limited idea of what introducing myself is. But just to open and pour out my understandings and misunderstandings, well, it's all relative anyway. But then thinking like, oh, I forgot to say my name. That's the important part.
So maybe I'll keep a mystery.
I think that's so perfect. Of course, I'm like, oh, this is me. I'm gonna put a label. No, I'm a good girl. Check the boxes of how to make a podcast.
Yeah, we can be polars on that aspect.
Yeah, as in so many other things.
Well, yeah. Let's do another one next week.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And we put that online. And see, I don't know if it is interesting for someone.
Maybe no one hears
Maybe.
this
Yeah.
because they gave up earlier.
Yeah.
So if you are the only one who's still here,
Yeah.
please reach out. We would love to get to know you and but if not, we'll just do it by ourselves. Just the two of us.
like what to talk about. I think that is something that can be supportive for me to receive. What would you like us to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
If you are still here and listening and went through all the...
Hello. Oh. Just echo, empty room. No.
I think it's just two of us here.
With no echo because we've insulated it well. And I think it's good to bring in that point with the sauna. I think it's very sweet that you brought in the need of having a sauna in a Nordic country. Sitting in a sauna studio, homemade. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Yes. So how do we end it?
I think you just
Just
press
press it.
the button.
Okay, yeah. Let's do it.